Sony has been a benefactor in the electronics industry for many years already, but in the smartphone industry, they've become less of a factor and also seem to lost their way somewhat. In the second half of 2016, the Sony Xperia XZ was the most popular Android phone. But 2016 was not the year of the flagship. It was more of the year of the mid-range phone. And that's what I have here, the Sony Xperia X Compact. I'm Chris with the Pantek brothers, and this is our full review. Let's go check it out. First, let me get the specs out of the way. Here they are. You can pause the video if needed. The Sony Xperia X Compact is a truly compact phone, which feels right at home in your hand. The rounded sides makes it very comfortable to hold. The front and back curve towards the edges, giving it a unibody-like design. From the top or bottom, the device's outline resembles that of a USB Type-C port. The compact size is also complemented by its light construction of just 135 grams. Sony went with an all-plastic construction, which is glossy, but has a nice ceramic look and feel to it as well. Previous Sony devices usually have been IP certified, though unfortunately there's no water resistance or waterproofing here. What Sony has dropped from the X Compact is the flagship chipset. It contains a mid-range Snapdragon 650 processor and an Adreno 510 GPU. Though it's not flagship, it certainly does fly through the Android OS. At the time of this review, the X Compact is running Android Nougat 7.0. It handles multitasking like a champ with its 3 gigs of RAM, and unlike last year's Snapdragon 810, the 650 doesn't get hot nor does it throttle its performance. Here are some benchmarks so you can actually see and compare the performance between the 650 and the 810. Games ran smooth when I was playing a couple titles. Loading times were a little slow, but once it loaded, everything ran just fine. Up front, you are presented with a surprisingly great display. It is just 720p, but that's just fine for a 4.6-inch screen. So gaming and media content won't be the best experience, but it is still quite enjoyable. With screen specs like these, it just means that the CPU and GPU don't have to work as hard to push as many pixels to the display. Colors are vibrant. Blacks are more black than I've seen in other LCD panels as well. Viewing angles are good, which means there's no real color shift either. It is adequately bright in daylight, but I do wish that it was brighter. That way, getting things done in direct sunlight would be much easier. On the flip side, I also wish the display also got a little bit more dim, especially during the nighttime or when all the lights are off. Flanking the screen, you are provided with dual stereo speakers, which sound surprisingly good, but the volume output is lacking. This is actually a nice appreciated feature, considering most flagships or larger phones don't even have front-facing speakers. Here's an audio sample. The only downside that I found to these speaker grills is that lint and other debris can find their way into these areas, and it's very noticeable on the blue or the white variant. You can feel the vibrations of the speakers when they are at full volume while you are holding the phone. It's a little difficult to hear the audio when there's a lot of background noise, unfortunately. Audio doesn't get distorted at higher volumes. The X Compact supports high bitrate audio recording. Sony includes audio profile adjustments when headphones are plugged in, which give you a great deep and rich audio experience. It also tries to upsample low-bit audio for you. A lower res screen and a mid-range chipset both aid in battery life. The X Compact packs a 2700 mAh battery, which got me through a full day of mild to slightly heavy usage. This resulted in a consistent 5 to 6.5 hour screen on time, but of course, your mileage may vary. If you do run low on juice during the day, you can easily recharge using Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0 that's built in. Plus, you don't ever have to worry about fiddling with the wire because it comes with a USB-C port. Something the X Compact adopted from its bigger brother flagship, the XZ, was the camera. It uses this 23 megapixel sensor, of course. It even includes the laser autofocus and RGBC IR sensor, which provides accurate white balance and colors in both photos and videos. Here we have the video recording of the Sony Xperia X Compact. This is going to be running at 1080p 60 frames a second. This does have image stabilization, though Sony claim to have 5-axis stabilization, but it seems that that feature is only enabled when you are doing macro video recording. You can see stabilization is very good. There is no real shake going on. Unfortunately, because of the processor that's inside the Snapdragon 650, there is no 4K capabilities, so you are limited at 1080p. You can either record at 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second. So it is an overcast day here. Here's some darker sections covered by trees. Lots of cloud coverage. You can see the white balance change because of that white balance sensor that's included. Focus is pretty decent, pretty fast. You can see there. You can see the greens of the tree leaves. Pretty good dynamic range as far as picking up the details of the clouds. That's good. So we'll see how the audio quality is on this as well. So I am walking at a regular stroll pace right now. Just holding it in one hand. And we're going to go ahead and just try some running and see how that handles. So this is the front-facing camera. We're going to see how this records. It looks like 16:9. Not the most wide angle view. But it looks pretty sharp as far as colors and details goes. Photos come out sharp and colors are accurate, but they're not vivid like Samsung, so you're not going to see the same overly saturated colors. You can easily and quickly access the camera by pressing and holding the dedicated camera shutter button from anywhere in the OS. The button is also a half-press focus, so that way when taking photos you can quickly focus by just half-pressing that button. The camera also has object tracking capabilities, so that way they'll be able to track the object that is in your frame and stay in focus on those objects. Sony does tout a 5-axis stabilization, but it seems like this only applies when taking macro photos, which you can see down in the corner of your viewfinder when taking a macro shot. Unfortunately, another drawback is HDR is only available in manual mode, not through automatic. The 5 megapixel front-facing camera is quite good. The colors are rich, but it's not the widest angle lens that I've seen. Video quality is great and stable, but it is limited by the chipset, therefore no 4K or slow-mo recording. Where the camera does struggle is in low light. There's lots of noise that gets introduced, and lighting also then gets washed out. You lose detail, and in some cases it takes also a second longer to take a shot. Software is quite close to stock Android, and like I mentioned, this is running Android 7.0 now, and updates have been fairly quick, and Sony has been very good at pushing out updates. It is running the December security patch. The OS runs fast without a hiccup, and the ability to change themes is also nice if that's your thing. Added features such as a double tap to wake or sleep, stamina modes, so that way it helps extend your battery life as well. These are all been included from Sony just to give you that a little bit nicer experience an Android. Unfortunately, Sony did include some bloat software, but you can of course disable this if you wish. I would have liked to seen Sony just use the Google apps, such as the Google Dialer, calculator, clock, etc., versus using Sony's proprietary applications. Unfortunately, the US model, the fingerprint scanner is disabled. Therefore, if you're in the US, you get no fingerprint scanner, unlike the UK or other regions. The great thing though is that this can be easily changed via a firmware flash to the UK software on your computer. Once done, the fingerprint scanner works great, very fast and accurate every time. There is 32 gigs of internal storage. Unfortunately, that doesn't leave you much room to store videos, music, apps, or games. But Sony does counteract that by giving you the ability to expand storage up to a 256 gig micro SD card. The downside, I was disappointed to see that there's no adaptable storage natively. You can move application data, photos, and things like that to the micro SD card. Earpiece quality is very clear during phone calls, even in louder environments. I had no signal issues while I was using this in the US on T-Mobile. The phone does come carrier unlocked for a GSM network, and it does include the important bands for AT&T and T-Mobile as well. Bluetooth connected very quickly to any of my devices, and GPS was able to lock on accurately and quickly as well. With the original price tag of just $500, it's a bit steep for the Sony Xperia X Compact. But nowadays you can actually find it on sale for around $350 to $400. That's definitely much more manageable at that price point. But at the same time, in a sea of other smartphones at a very competitive price of $400, like the OnePlus 3T, the Honor 8, the Axon 7, it is very hard to recommend this phone at that point if your main focus is flagship specs. If your priority is a great camera, all in a small packaged phone, then the Sony X Compact is going to be the way to go. Thanks for watching. My name is Chris once again. I appreciate you stopping by. Please leave any comments or questions that you may have in the video down below. Also, please do not forget to like and subscribe to stay tuned for future content. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next one.